All right, so let's get into this. Has been fascinating because time is going by because it's so great, man. The stories and what you did. So now you do all this is what I think is hilarious. We have a mutual friend, by the way, Club Soda Kenny. Love Kenny.
Yeah.
Kenny. So you go from an FBI agent, your law, all those things. You're going after, organized crime. Then you're going after the cyber stuff. And then now during this whole time, because Vinny is now a stand-up comedian, are you thinking during your 11-year stint, stand-up is something I always want to do? Or were you at the tail end of it? You go, I'm going to get into stand-up. Like it was like a later decision.
I don't know about you, and I'm curious what your story is with this, but so I always thought about stand-up comedy. Yeah. I always watched it on TV when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
Comic Strip Live or whatever. And, I would always get in trouble and the teachers would always say you're class clown and, go be a stand-up comic. I always took it as an insult because I didn't know anything about stand-up comedy. And being first generation, I don't want to blame this on my parents because I don't know now in hindsight. But the idea that I could have said to them, that's the route I want to go, I would just imagine them thinking about the boat they sat on from Italy to here and all the aspirations and then being like, but why? There's nothing else you want to do? Like, that's probably putting more on it than they would because I think they'd support me no matter what. But I had a very overachieving older brother who was like a year and a half older. When I say overachieving, he's a brain surgeon. Like that doesn't get more overachieving, right? So he cast a large shadow.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So he was the smart one. He was the one saying, Vinny, you shouldn't throw rocks at cop cars. You shouldn't go vandalize buildings. And I'm like, Sabino, what do you know? I'm living my life. And so I think what I thought was that at some point I realized I was going to end up getting in some serious trouble. And I was told that I had potential and that I was just academically lazy. And I started to think about focusing my energy towards like more positive things. And once that started picking up with the school stuff, and like when I got to college, like law, I fell in love with law. And a teacher pulled me aside and said, well, you're obviously going to go to law school. And I'm thinking, if you knew me, you would have never said it. But they didn't know my history. They just knew me at who I was then.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I have a chance to basically forget about my fucked up past. And now I'm the smart guy in class. Now I'm the leader. Now I'm the teacher's assistant. Like, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah.
So the comedy thing was like, I didn't know anybody in show business. I didn't know how comedy clubs worked. It was like watching a movie. Of course you might want to be in a movie, but if you don't know anything. So I thought that time of my life, I missed it because, I was just getting older and I said, well, I would always love to, but it's gone. And then I leave, while I was still in the FBI, there's clubs right in my area where I live in Long Island. There's three big clubs, Governors in Levittown, Brokerage and McGuire's, and Brokerage is right down the street from me. So I go there with my wife from time to time, and I'd always see the owner there and his wife, wave hello. And one day I go there with a mutual friend of ours, and he knows him, and he introduces me to him. Now I'm still at the bureau. And so, him, he's suspicious of me. I'm suspicious of him. I always joke that wouldn't it be great if everyone finds out like 10 years from now, this was just the longest undercover operation in history. And I really am just an FBI agent who went undercover as a comic for 10 years. But so we end up becoming friends though. Like we end up having these conversations while I'm there. And he's the one who kind of pushed me through our conversations. He's like, hey, and we had an MC didn't show up one night and he just said, you go do it. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, so I went up and I did it. And he said, what'd you think? I was like, it was awesome. It was like fucking awesome. He was like, you're good at it. He goes, you should do it again. I'm like, yeah. So I showed up a week later with my wife for dinner to watch somebody. And he walks over and he's like, all right, you're up in 5 minutes. And I was like, I'm here for dinner. Like, I'm not going on stage. He's like, just do like 2 minutes, just do whatever. So he kept pushing me to do it. And
wow,
I had just left the bureau, so I could do it because I couldn't go on stage when I was an FBI agent. I had just left the bureau. And then every time I went, he would push me to go on stage. And then it became totally an addiction. again,
Yeah.
when I talk about us living in a simulation, none of this makes sense, right? None of this, the fact that I still had a chance to do stand-up, right, after deciding that I chose a path and that's the way life is, and then at 37, that opportunity opens back up again. How does that happen? Like, that
Right.
doesn't make any sense.
Right. 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 Well, that's amazing. I didn't know that. Obviously I knew your story, that you were FBI agent and then that you became you went into stand up and from Long Island. I had no idea that you were actually just going there to hang out, to have dinner or to watch another comedian. And next thing you know, the guy's going, oh, you're going up and you're doing time and shit like that, which is, dude, that's so amazing. How long have you been doing stand up for now?
I guess since I left in 2015. So,
About 7 years.
yeah, I mean, that's probably maybe 16. Maybe I started it within a year after I left at most.
Yeah, and then you had to deal with the COVID shit too, which
Yeah.
doesn't help. So yeah, man. But no, that's dude, that's really fascinating, and that's such a great story. And knowing all of the pieces, I know why a guy like you, because when I first met you, and then you said something, and I think we talked about something, and we were in the green room, and you go, yeah, that's why it's a simulation. And I was like, what? And you were like, yeah, no, dude, this is the Matrix. Like, this is a simulation. And then I thought you were going to be, and you weren't fucking around. Now, let me ask you this,